Hello, I am Applied Philosophy, and today's discussion will be on the epidemic of simps found within our society. So, first, we should describe what exactly is a simp. If you were to ask that question to a lot of people, they would give various answers. The answers of some may be that a simp is somebody that is nice to women. Another answer might be that a simp is somebody who is in love with a woman. Another answer might be a simp is somebody who pays for a woman's OnlyFans account. And while these are all funny definitions, they're rather incomplete. And all of these may make up parts of the definition of a simp, but that is not the full definition of a simp. So a good definition of a simp would be a simp is a man whose entire being is possessed by females. His whole life is dominated by women. He does everything for women. His all his interests involve the approval or the validation of a woman. Sometimes not one woman, sometimes multiple women. He craves the attention of females to the point of lunacy. To the fact that he would pay money to have a woman pretend to like him. Uh, Key example of the amount of simps is that the Catch Me Outside girl made $7 million on her first day when she set up OnlyFans, which is freaking insane. So, a simp has certain qualities that lead him to have this sort of behavior. He is not very confident in himself or his capabilities. He has uh, a poor mentality when it comes to life in general, I would say. His he seeks external validation. He is not comfortable with himself in his own skin, being who he is. And he does not crave the approval of other men, for men to view him as a man. He craves the satisfaction of a woman telling him that he is okay. He would rather have a woman tell him that he's okay or he's a funny guy than have the respect of men who view him as their chief, as their leader. This is kind of horrible for society because what this means is that, as we can see, there's quite a large segment of men that are going down this path. And what that means is that there might in the future be a crisis of leadership amongst men. And that could have horrible ramifications for the society. Now, the simp is very valued, I would say, a valued figure for women. Women value the simp because the simp gives them validation. The woman posts a picture of herself looking almost naked on social media. Thousands upon thousands of men will go and comment on her picture, talking about how beautiful she is, blah, 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 so on and so forth. Even though she looks just like every other girl. What this means is that she feels happy when she says that. It's a boot when she sees men do that. It's a boost in confidence for her. But what does it speak to the men who see this every single day and who see thousands of other women that do the same thing every single day, that they have to go and they have to comment on a woman's picture like this? It's also a sign. It's a sign of their insane level of lust. They have not managed to control the very basic nature, the very basic thing that kind of makes a boy a man, or are a human different from an animal? So, in short, a simp is nothing more than an animal in some ways. An animal is different from a human in that an animal does not have control over his base desires. When an animal gets into a frenzy of lust, all he can do is think about sex, try to have sex, whatever. When an animal is hungry, it cannot put aside that feeling. It, gorges. An animal does not, an animal will, when it feels hungry, it immediately has to go out to seek food or look for food. It cannot put off the hunger because it is doing something else and then later on consume food. Same thing with sex, same thing with many things, really. But a human is supposed to have the capability to suppress these desires through the use of his intellect. So, when you're at work, for example, or in class, or you're doing something important, you're driving, say, you have a lustful thought, you get horny. What will you do? Do you stop the car? Do you leave work? Do you walk out of your classroom to go and indulge in those desires? Well, you shouldn't, and most men wouldn't. You put that aside and indulge in them when it is appropriate. Same thing with food. Same thing with sleep. Same thing with just about everything. However, an animal does not. The simp seems to be less evolved in that sense, in which that he cannot put aside this lustful urge for him to run after every single woman that he sees, or to constantly run after a woman and do every single thing for a woman. He will not do anything for himself. He will not do anything for society unless it is validated by a woman. Now, this is a despised creature, and no man should try to emulate this creature. He has no redeemable qualities. I would say if a man is a known simp, his family despises him, the woman he simps after despises him, he has no friends, and his nation despises him. So, yeah, don't be a simp. The other side of the coin, we have the hero. The hero is the exact opposite of the simp. The hero is best described by a story. Now, this is a story that I made up, but this is a classic tale that expounds the archetype of the hero. So, hundreds of years ago, there was a kingdom. And the kingdom is plagued by a beast, a dragon. The dragon comes in, burns all the crops, kills all the farmers, eats all the animals, and then goes back to its lair. And every so often it comes out, does it again, and goes back. Now, the dragon is getting well fed and gets to have a bit of fun, but the people are in terror. Now, the king calls all the men and all the boys to his hall, and he says that he will give the man's weight in gold to the man who is able to slay this beast. All the men are scared because they've seen their friends butchered and burnt alive, so they hesitate. But then one young man steps forward and he says that he will slay the beast. So he goes on a quest and he has his ups and downs trying to locate the lair. He grows from a boy into a man along this way. He gets jaded. He has his fair share of troubles. And he meets interesting people along the way. All of these seek to develop him until his final encounter with the dragon, upon which he slays the dragon and brings its head back to the king. The king is grateful to this hero and awards him his weight in gold, and upon the festivities that occur upon the slaying of this beast, the king's daughter falls in love with him, they marry, and they go on and live their life. Now, this is a very different figure from the simp. The hero is motivated by virtues that are higher than the base desires of the simp. If a woman tells the simp to go buy something, buy her OnlyFans subscription, he will do it. And then he will donate to her, and he will spend his life savings on her. A hero would never do such a thing. A hero is motivated by the quest for glory and of service to his people, which is why when the king assigns him a quest which is suicidal, yeah, if he returns, he'll get his weight in gold, but he's likely not to return. He is more likely not to return, which is why no other man took up this burden. But he does, not for the gold, but for the glory to his name that would occur. His name will be sung for centuries. And if he is victorious, he would have rendered a valuable service to his community, a service that would enshrine his glory forever. The fact that upon the culmination of this quest, the beautiful princess marries him is secondary. It is not the goal. The goal was to kill the beast. This is a reward for completing the goal. So what we can see here is that the goal of the hero and the goal of the beast are vastly, the goal of the hero and the goal of the simp are vastly different. And that because these goals are different, the simp receives nothing. He does not receive his goal. The woman that he craves for despises him. But the hero, who has a noble goal, achieves his goal because his goal is the adoration and the productive service to his community. And he achieves that upon the culmination of his quest. Because when you attempt to have a goal that is noble, you will develop noble characteristics which are worthy to be emulated by the rest of society. When you have a goal that is normative, say, ignoble, you develop qualities that are not great for the rest of mankind to have and are not worthy of emulation. And hence, people will despise you versus adore you. So, now, luckily for all the simps out there, this disease is curable. It is not set in stone. It is not like a man's height. You cannot change your height. But you can change your behavior. Just because one is a simp now does not mean one has to remain a simp for the rest of his life. And how would I suggest going about this? Well, for starters, exercise some personal hygiene. Shower every day, wash your hair every day. You will feel clean, and your mind will, this is very unscientific, of course, but your mind will function better. It will feel clean. When you're surrounded by dirty things and you feel dirty, you're more inclined towards dirty thoughts, dirty actions, and dirty things. But when you clean yourself, you clean the area around you, you have a semi-organized space, you will think in a semi-organized manner, and you will think thoughts that are beneficial and more positive just from the effects of the location that you are in. The next is to see the issues that are found within society and to see what your capabilities are as a man. and see how those two can intersect and how best you can serve your people. Is your body capable? Is your body a normal body that does not have any fundamental problems? As in, are you not a cripple? But is your body not well developed in terms of its strength? Then you should seek to build your strength. That way that you may use your strength to serve society in a beneficial way. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's a car crash and there is a hospital nearby, and it's a few feet from the car to the bridge, and you see this crash. What should you do? You should pull over, help the person out of the car. If the person cannot walk, pick him up, carry him to the hospital, and save his life. Hand it over to the doctors and let the doctors who are trained to save lives save his life. This is only possible if you have the strength to move anything out of the way, lift the man up, or lift the woman up in this case, in a different case. You have the conditioning to carry that human, that member of your society, to the hospital and deliver him to the people that are competent in saving his life. So you must, if you have the ability to serve society in this manner, and you have not developed yourself so that you can, you should try to develop yourself so that you can, so that once shit hits the fan, once you're in the situation, you may render service and you may gain adoration from the people around you, and you may feel accomplished in your own capabilities, and so that you will view yourself as a heroic figure. Another example of this would be, there was a very famous picture that was floated around the internet during the hurricane in Texas, where a man was carrying a woman and her child out of the floodwaters because they could not walk through the floodwaters because they would have drowned. Now, such a man's image went through the internet all over, and people viewed him as an archetypical hero because that is what he was. So developing positive qualities that are beneficial for yourself and that are beneficial for society will give you not only capabilities to render aid to yourself and society, better physical and mental and moral, spiritual health. Additionally, better, well, people will view you better, which is always a plus. The next tip that I would give to all the simps out there is to drop the childish books and drop the childish video games and TV shows and hobbies and read the classics, especially epic literature from around the world. Now, epic literature was developed by ancient society in order to explain the feats of legendary heroes, as well as to teach the men of society and the women of society the required qualities to be a member of the society and the admirable qualities that may not necessarily be required, but are viewed as admirable and as good qualities to have for society. And I would find a hero within this literature that is well regarded by his peers, is well regarded by the divine figures within this epic, and seek to emulate his qualities the best you can. For example, Say you read stories of Hercules and you are inspired by his strength. Well, seek to develop your strength. Hercules also had a strong moral character and moral fiber. He kept his word and performed the 12 labors to the letter, which means work on your diligence to tasks, and keep your word and be honest. These are moral and physical qualities that are of vast importance to men. If your hero is that you like from reading this literature is uh, Odysseus. Odysseus was not a nerd. He was not a simple nerd. He was a very intelligent figure, but a very capable figure physically as well. He survived multiple years in Troy and he was ultimately victorious. So seek to develop your intelligence, seek to develop your strength, and seek to develop all the other qualities that made this hero who he is. And also, read also the flaws of these heroes, because the flaws of these epic heroes are the plot for many of these epic poems, and seek to correct those flaws, because these flaws are stated within the poem so that you do not emulate the flaws as well as emulating, well, while you're attempting to emulate the good qualities of these heroes. And that will allow you to kind of have a gauge for for who you're trying to be and who you're trying to become and who you're trying to improve yourself toward. Because otherwise, with no gauge, then you have no idea. You could be, you know, you essentially it becomes the blind leading the blind, wandering through a desert in circles, not knowing what you can be, not knowing what you can become, and not knowing if you're on the right path. So I would encourage that. And I say put aside a lot of the childish hobbies and interests that are found within the modern society, because a lot of these characters found within them do not necessarily have a well-developed personality, nor a well-developed plot, nor a well-developed story arc, and don't necessarily have positive attributes. Other than that, I would also attempt to seek moral and spiritual guidance so that you may find a way to understand right from wrong and learn that it is not a good thing to simp after girls or just simp in general. Other than that, thank you for listening to this discussion, and I wish you the very best.